Good evening. I'm Anna Dollenmeyer.
And I'm Reese Thompson. Welcome to Newswatch. Before we get to our top story, let's check in with forecaster Lexi Bell-Polsey. Lexi, are we going to see it get any warmer this week?
Oh yeah, Reese, we definitely are, but we'll get a little bit more into that later on in the show. Now, currently here it is 48 degrees with overcast skies and winds from our west at about 18 miles per hour with gusts of up to 35 miles per hour. It's a pretty windy day out there. Now, we did have these cloudy skies kind of take over our entire day. Now, as we went into our late morning and early afternoon, we did see a little bit of a clearing with some showers, but those have quickly rushed out. But luckily, it does look pretty decent coming up in these next few days, and even as we round off our week later on. Now, because of these gustier winds, we do have some special weather statements all across the board. Now, this is due to gusts getting up to 40, even possibly 45 miles per hour with this all today. Now, today we did have a high of 55 with mostly cloudy skies and a low of 37. That wind kept us on a little bit more of a colder side with that low of 37 tonight and a partly cloudy skies. And tomorrow sunrise at 6:47.
Thank you, Lexi. A former Nelsonville City Council president is facing a court date after getting arrested at last night's City Council meeting.
And it was all caught on the camera. Here's the moment it all went down.
You are under arrest.
Why? Because I'm telling the truth. It's the truth.
They called you to order. You ignored it. So you're under arrest. Please walk out of the room.
Just to remind the citizens,
Miss Wynn.
People
Miss
with
Wynn.
felonies
I've explained to you.
are not allowed to serve on
Please walk
council
out of the room.
according to the Ohio Revised
Miss Wynn.
Code. You know what?
A few moments later, the former president, Rita Wynn, was taken out of the room and council took a brief recess before continuing the meeting.
Newswatch reporter Haley Hollinger joins us live in the newsroom with more. Haley, is this the latest incident in a string of disagreements between the former council and member of the current council?
Reese and Anna, this is not the first time we have seen a public dispute between the former president and many of the folks on the current council. Rita Wynn served on council from December of 2023 to spring of 2024, and tensions built between Wynn and the council after she resigned from her seat in February of 2024, but then tried to take back her resignation just 24 hours later. It led to a months-long debate on who was on council. Wynn was eventually ousted. Last April, she filed a lawsuit against the city to get her seat back. Just before she was arrested last night, she said the new council members would be included in the lawsuit. There was talk of the lawsuit being dissolved if the current council president, Greg Clement, appointed Wynn and Sue Powell back to the council.
We did reach out to Miss Powell, and she declined the offer and opportunity to join council again. We did not reach out to Rita Wynn.
Wynn's first court date is set for next Thursday, and as always, we'll keep you updated as the situation progresses. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Haley Hollinger, live in the newsroom.
Thank you, Haley. WOUB is your source for news in Southeast Ohio. For the latest news, weather, and sports from across the region, head to our website, WOUB.org, or download the WOUB app.
Athens City Council officials passed an emergency ordinance to repair a road damaged during last week's severe weather. This is what Joneswood Road currently looks like. As you can see, a large section of the road has slid, falling into a nearby home. Luckily, no one was in the home during the incidents. Residents and businesses downhill from the slip worry the large chunk of road could have fallen onto their home, but Mayor Steve Patterson says this will not happen.
The bottom of the slip would go about a quarter of the way down that slope side. It will not, as I've been told, cascade down into Columbus Road. But it will be a complete loss of that particular property.
You're taking a live look at the Federal Hockey School Board meeting in Coolville. The board is discussing whether to renew the Federal Hockey High School principal. This comes as the district faces a $350,000 budget deficit if it does not make necessary cuts. This has forced the board to cut 7 teaching positions last month. 6 of those people cut have been assigned to other roles. The superintendent says the board has cut over $500,000 so far. Our team of reporters is at the meeting tonight and will have a full recap of what happens. Pixel Specialty Solutions announced today that it will close its paper mill in Chillicothe. The mill employs over 1,000 people in the Chillicothe area. Pixel is assisting the affected employees with job placement and other workforce resources. According to the press release, the closure will allow the company to strengthen its operations at its Spring Grove and Fairmont mills. Pixel CEO Ross Bushnell says, quote, "Our focus remains on delivering high-quality specialty paper products while ensuring a responsible transition for our workforce and operations in Chillicothe."
The Trump administration wants to cut funding from National Public Radio and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. According to the New York Times, the White House plans to send a request to Congress and resign $1.1 billion in federal funding for public broadcasting. If approved, that could eliminate almost all federal funding for NPR and PBS. The proposal is part of a comprehensive package asking Congress to resign funds that were previously approved. Once the memo is sent, the House and Senate will have 45 days to vote on whether to approve the request. Today is tax day, meaning if you haven't finished your 2024 taxes, you only have a little over 5 hours left to file. While a majority of U.S. taxpayers have already taken care of the matters with the tax man, roughly 101 million have yet to do so. There are some exceptions. Businesses and residents in severe disaster stricken states have been given extensions. Taxpayers are advised to file electronically if possible. The Taxpayer Advocate Service says that this is usually safer and faster than dropping it in the mail. Now, if you've already sent in your return, you're likely going to get a refund or you're still waiting for it. Jen Sullivan has tips on how to invest that money and help it grow.
If you've already filed your taxes with the IRS, you may have received a refund. So far this year, the IRS says it sent out nearly 68 million refunds. The average amount, just over $4,000. So, what should you do with that money?
You want that money to do its best work for you.
Jean Chatzky is the CEO and founder of HerMoney.com. Her first tip is to use that money to pay off any debt.
Pay off the high interest rate credit card debt. That's going to put a return into your pocket equal to the interest rate on the debt.
If you want to put that money away, Chatzky says don't just deposit it into a regular savings account.
Those accounts are paying about 0.4% interest rate.
So what are better options? She says look at certificate of deposit accounts, commonly known as CDs. It's a type of savings account that offers a fixed interest rate for a specific period of time. There's usually a deposit minimum. And beware, she says there may be a penalty for withdrawing the money.
The interest rate is 7 times that you'll get in a plain vanilla account.
Next, high-yield savings accounts. These accounts are offered by online banks and credit unions and offer higher interest rates. There's typically no minimum deposit required. Lastly, investing in the market.
The markets can go up and down, and this is money that we don't need in the short term. It's money that we can afford to let ride for a little bit longer.
If you choose that option, Chatzky recommends diversifying the types of stocks you invest in and try not to panic when the market goes down. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Athens public transit drivers will be handing out community member transit passes to riders starting tomorrow. This pass allows free rides on public buses until April 2026. Athens Public Transit partnered with AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio on the initiative. The program includes all buses, routes, and Athens on demand. Ohio University Bobcat Pass riders will continue to show their OUID to ride. For more information, visit www.athenstransit.org. 2 American college students who were arrested in Denmark were released from jail Monday. Owen Gray and an unnamed friend were arrested on March 31st after allegedly assaulting an Uber driver over a payment dispute. During an interview with ABC, Ray said the Uber driver didn't realize he'd been paid for the trip and got out of the car allegedly threatening the students. According to the Uber driver, he was assaulted by the students after the ride ended. Their passports were confiscated and the two have to appear in a Danish court later this month. Ohio steelworkers say they are seeing new business as tariffs continue on all steel and aluminum imports to the U.S. Swinton Welding in Toledo says the 25% tariff on steel imports have opened the door for businesses like to find new business partners. Swinton's owner and CEO says 5 international companies have already reached out to do business, including Canada.
We had Italy, we had France, we had Great Britain, we had a Canadian company reach out to us. Wall Street affects us to a certain extent, but not a lot.
The United States began collecting 10% tariffs on imports on April 5th. Pharmaceuticals and semiconductors are exempt from those duties, but President Trump has said they will face separate tariffs. Tariffs and its impact on the local economy is one of many stories we will cover in a Newswatch special report, Southeast Ohio under a second Trump presidency.
We look at everything from how businesses are changing their approaches, where they're seeing their budget tighten the most. Here's a quick preview.
A growing trade war putting the economy in chaos, leaving manufacturers unsure of what's next.
They get 100% of their aluminum cans, glass bottles, whatever, from Canada and other places overseas.
How tariffs on the U.S. and its trade partners are impacting local business and how they're preparing in an unpredictable world.
This story and more on a Newswatch special report, Southeast Ohio under a second Trump presidency.
As you just saw, the Newswatch special report will air on Monday at 6:30 right here on WOUB. You will also be able to stream and rewatch the special report on our YouTube channel.
A longer in-depth podcast version of WOUB's The Outlet will also come out Monday, whether you get your podcast. Coming up, tensions continue to rise between the Trump administration and Harvard. See the latest as the university prepares for a funding freeze.
And we were cloudy most of our day today, but will we see the sun come back out? We'll find out more when Newswatch returns.
What? On Finding Your Roots, Jim Acosta.
Your preconceived notions of where you came from, who you are, doesn't mean squat.
And Van Jones.
I knew that my dad's side of the family had a rougher path.
Finding a founding family in Cuba.
I wonder if they even know. I'm sure they don't know.
And a DNA match.
You would never guess in a million years. That's nuts!
Finding Your Roots.
Tonight at 8 on WOUB. Understanding the past gives a sense of the future. This is the first time that anyone has seen this in 2,000 years.
This is amazing.
Well, I'm excited now.
Pompeii is a battle against time.
You think I'm joking, but look at this. It did really happen.
Don't let anybody tell you who you are.
History teaches us to honor the past.
When you look back, you're like, wow, that was pretty special.
This is something that's actually altering the course of history.
You're charged with keeping these stories alive.
If anybody wants to understand the importance of food assistance, try and skip breakfast and lunch, and see how you feel.
A key federal program connecting farmers with food banks is cut, upending an important source of food for organizations.
Plus, a growing trade war has the agriculture industry worried. But there's another problem.
Put down the weapons and work together on a farm bill.
These stories and more on a Newswatch special report, Southeast Ohio under a second Trump presidency.
Good evening, Athens. Currently here is 48 degrees with overcast skies and winds from our west at about 18 miles per hour and gusts of up to 35 miles per hour. Now today we did have a lot of cloudy conditions, but we did see some sun right around noon when we had some pop-up showers come on through our area. But other than that, it's been horrifically cloudy. Now, we don't have to worry about that for much longer, as we will have a nice little dry spell as we enter more into our middle of our week. But unfortunately, we do have these higher winds, which is what kept us a little bit on the chillier side today. You probably walked outside, saw it was going to be 55 degrees, and you were like, it's kind of chilly. Yeah, that's because of these windy conditions. Now, we do have some special weather statements around the area specifically for this. Now, we are expected to see some gusts of up to 35, 40, maybe even pushing 45 miles per hour going into tonight and tomorrow as well. Now, Today, we had mostly cloudy skies with a high of 55 and a low of 37. And tonight, we could see that low of 37 and partly cloudy skies with that sunrise at 6:47 a.m. Now tomorrow, around the same as today, we still will have those breezier conditions with mostly sunny skies, a high of 57 and a low of 33. Now, Tomorrow and the next few days are going to be very boring if you're someone who likes the stormy, rainy weather. It's just going to be high pressure throughout, not much really going on. Now, we do have this warm front all the way over here that will actually impact us a little bit later on in the week. We'll be even seeing into almost the 80s as we go into our weekend. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to still see that high pressure. We're going to have some clear conditions, perfect to go out and stargaze. But other than that, nothing's really going on. Now Thursday, it's the same kind of story. It's perfect to sit outside, maybe read a book, but other than that, nothing's really going on. Now, this week, it's kind of looks like it could be quite the roller coaster, if you may. Now, we're going to go from the 60s into the 80s, quite the jump. Now, we are expected to see some more sunnier conditions as we go into our weekend with some possible storms on Sunday as we have another little cold front make its way through. But it's not going to affect us too much as we see that Monday and Tuesday are still going to be in our 70s. But those 80-degree days are going to be absolutely perfect compared to what we saw today, what we'll see tomorrow. It's going to really start feeling a little bit more like we're getting into the middle of April and not like we're getting into the middle of March. Other than that, I think we're pretty decent for a week.
Lexi, so overnight, are you saying that the temperatures are going to get higher, would you say?
Overnight, with these clear conditions, no. Usually with clearer nights, you're going to have colder nights. That is because there's really no cloud cover to keep any of the Earth's heating together, which usually causes a warmer night. Awesome. So other than that, we're going to see some cooler nights, warmer days, in fact.
Yeah, and finally some stargazing. Athens is actually one of the best places to do it because we don't have as much light pollution from, other cities or bigger cities like Columbus. Yeah, but thank you, Lexi. I appreciate it. Turning now to some major news in higher education, President Trump threatens to tax Harvard University as a political entity after the institution rejected the administration's policy change demands regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Julia Benbrook is at the White House with the latest as the federal government freezes $2.2 billion in federal funding for the university.
This move comes after the Trump administration announced investigations into universities across the country, citing concerns of anti-Semitism or racial preferences, and threatened to halt billions of dollars in funding for universities that don't follow the administration's demands. Among the mandates in the administration's letter to Harvard were the elimination of the university's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, banning masks at campus protests, reforming the admissions process, and reducing the power held by faculty and administrators. Harvard informed the administration that it will not accept the proposed agreement. And in a statement, the university's president said, quote, "No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue." In response, the administration froze $2.2 billion in federal funding for the university, and President Donald Trump later took to social media, writing in part, "Perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity." Harvard's decision appears to be the first time an elite university has pushed back against those demands from the administration, and comes as other universities grapple with how to respond. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Cancer Society gives a new insight on the effects of electronic cigarettes. What you need to know before making the switch.
Oh my God, this is like paradise.
We as humans can learn a lot from this.
We're in a whole new era of science. I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Finding food and water is getting harder by the day. You can feel the presence of everything that is needed to keep us alive.
Maintaining fully functioning ecosystems, that is what's going to save us.
Wednesday on WOUB.
Hace miles de años que venimos existiendo y viviendo de la tierra. Ese territorio fue invadido primero por los españoles y ahora vienen las empresas. Y ahora viene por parte más específica, el agua.
Monday at 10 on WOUB. For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
Smoking can be a hard habit to kick, and smokers who turn to electronic cigarettes to help them quit using traditional cigarettes may not be helping their health.
The health risk of using both electronic and traditional cigarettes can be just as dangerous as the other. Mandy Gaither has more on a new study from the American Cancer Society.
It's a common way to cut back, but if you think vaping while continuing to use traditional cigarettes is a healthier route, American Cancer Society researchers urge you to think again.
The goal really should be to get to zero smoking, zero tobacco use.
In a new study released today, researchers analyzed data from more than 2,600 adult smokers who reported dual use of cigarettes and e-cigarettes and compared them with those who used just one of those products. They found those who used both were exposed to the same tobacco-related nicotine and toxins as they would be if only using traditional cigarettes.
The number of cigarettes per day, whether it's the e-cigarettes or the regular cigarettes, the number of cigarettes per day was the most important factor, where, of course, higher number of cigarettes gave you higher number of toxins.
The exposure to these toxins carries risks of cancer, cardiovascular disease, reproductive problems, developmental issues, and respiratory harm. Researchers say smokers should be aware that dual use of these products is not safe.
I think the main thing to take away is that the less you smoke, the better.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Still ahead, an inmate rehabilitation program in Georgia offers a new twist on reformation. How the training program brings together man and man's best friend.
Everything I know, I learned from comic books.
Comic books inspired cartoonist Art Spiegelman to draw.
I was just another baby boom boy. I grew up in Queens. I loved comics. My parents survived Auschwitz. I made a comic book about it, the one with Jewish mice and Nazi cats.
And that's his Pulitzer Prize-winning Mouse.
Why comics? Why mice? Why the Holocaust? Yikes.
Look for Art Spiegelman,
one of the most important cartoonists in the world.
Disaster is My Muse.
See you in the funny papers.
On American Masters.
Tonight at 10 on WOUB.
Next time on the Vietnam War.
We were acting as bait. Go walk in the woods and draw fire.
U.S. troops feel the strain of a different kind of war.
We keep getting more and more operations thrown at us. I may take a 15-day leave to Tokyo to keep from cracking up.
As the anti-war movement gains momentum back home.
That was the biggest crowd any of us had ever been in.
When the Vietnam War continues.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
You think you're on one trajectory in your life, and it makes a left-hand turn.
We need each other, because this is tough.
Funk's primary purpose is to get people moving.
It can literally reach and touch you in places that may surprise you.
Michael has a big love for the world.
There's a part of him that is a showman.
I had no idea what I was doing, except that I was having fun, taking pictures.
I didn't know what a caregiver was. I didn't know what Alzheimer's was.
Everything has changed.
I know it'll be different, but I'm really hoping that we can feel connected.
When you're in the library, everyone's equal. We're a place where people come together. We need more of that in this country, not less of it.
It's been a difficult road.
We always come back.
The most well-known maritime disaster took place 113 years ago today. The RMS Titanic was on its maiden voyage across the Atlantic when it struck an iceberg and sank to the ocean floor. More than 1,500 people died and just over 700 survived the wreck. The Titanic was the largest and most luxurious passenger ship in the service at the time and was considered unsinkable. The wreck was discovered in 1985, about 350 nautical miles off the Canadian coast of Newfoundland, where the ship lays at its final resting place. A new diversion program is helping give those serving jail time a second chance.
It's called Canine Cellmates, and it works with inmates in Atlanta. The nonprofit takes inmates who are recommended for the program by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and gives them the opportunity to serve their time in a different way. Along with training shelter dogs, the program teaches conflict resolution and effective communication techniques, something Jack and Hallie says is helping.
I think that's our biggest problem, lack of communication, not understanding each other.
Down, boy.
Once the men and dogs complete phase 1 of the program, they will graduate together, at which point the dogs will be available for adoption. The men will continue in the program with their required hours decreasing as they go until they reach their 1-year mark. Wow, what a crazy way to put dogs and inmates together in a positive light. That's
I know,
amazing.
you would never expect that.
Yeah.
That does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching.
No. We almost forgot our weather girl, Lexi Volsky over here. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Lexi.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be absolutely beautiful this week. We're going to start a little bit of a warming trend as we go into the middle, towards the end of our week, with getting into the upper 50s and even into the 60s, and even shooting up until the 80s on Friday, and kind of keeping with that going as we go into our weekend, unfortunately with some showers.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Lexi.
Thank you. And now that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thank you for watching.
We're being for real this time.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. Have a great night.